And next to that book is another title, another poetry book titled I Must Be Living Twice. So I have Pegasus, I have almost complete literary works, I have parallel lives, just like that, a trifecta of confirmation of what I was talking about. So the next day when I'm having lunch with my favorite editor, she says to me, Robert, I'd really like to publish a book of your stories, your travel stories, from your journeys in other realms and your adventures in synchronicity. I'm ready for her. So that's how the book came to publication. I was prepared by the kind of nod or wink or secret handshake from the universe that you cannot ignore. And a lot of my life and a lot of these stories are actually about dreaming wide awake in the world around us, in that moment you know in your shivers that the universe just got personal, that time is operating differently, and that you want to be prepared to jump, to seize the opportunity of that special kairos moment of synchronicity.
Now, I got to ask you a question. When you've been in any of these dreams, have you ever got in a situation in your, it's a real hard question to ask, but like you didn't want to get out of that dream and you didn't want to wake up. You wanted to continue on with what is playing out in your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, they're dreams that have their own traction, have their own hold on you, and the dreams you want to continue. And you can. I mean, we talked already about the fact that if you were in a dream like that and you were forced to get out of it because the alarm goes off or you wake up or you've got a radio show to do or a plane to catch, I mean, you can go back into the dream and stay with it. I mean, if you're talking about the idea of finding yourself in a world, in a realm in dreaming, beyond this world where you'd like to live forever, well, people have that sense from time to time, too. I will say to them, yes, I know that. I know that yearning for a love, for a romance, for a beauty that you found in a dream world that you don't have in a waking life. Well, that's great. You can have that as well as your regular life. But maybe your practice ought to be to bring from that dream of possibility and romance and beauty more into your waking life, to import into your waking life more of the qualities and the experiences that you're having in the dream world. I mean, the dream worlds are real worlds. They have their own physics. They have their own logic. We're not just, yes, there are dreams which are absolute creations, absolute productions, but a lot of this life is an absolute production too. So if you're talking about the dream that has its hold on you because you want to live there, sure, I've experienced dreams like that. You want to live there forever? Maybe reconsider the fact that you are living that life in parallel to your present life. And maybe instead of giving up on this life, you can import into this life elements from the dream that you really like. Actually, one of the reasons why some people lose their dreams and cease to be dreamers is that they conclude prematurely, I would say. So there's something going on in their dreams that they cannot manifest in ordinary life. They'll never be that young, they'll never be that beautiful, they'll never be that rich, they'll never meet Mr. or Ms. Right. And so they kiss goodbye to their dreams because they think their dreams are cruelly deceptive. That's a poor judgment. If you can dream something, you might just be able to do it. You might not have everything that you have in the dream. You might not have the physical health or youth that you have in the dream, but you can bring something from the dream into this world. I really believe if you can dream it, then to some extent you can do it in the ordinary world.
Now, somebody on my chat page here for one of the apps I'm on is saying they had a dream one time where they had a choice of either staying in the dream permanently and live their life in their dream, or basically what I'm getting from this is basically he could not come back to, being normal. In other words, he'd be in that dream permanently and not be able to come out of the dream. Now, I'm kind of wondering what he's saying here. I kind of get the impression maybe he's saying is that, if he stayed in the dream, he would maybe die and stay functioning in that plateau, or I don't know. I wish you would kind of explain it a little bit better, if I could explain it better.
Well, I'm going to comment on this indirectly and walk around it and come back to it. I'm going to comment it indirectly by recalling something from the life of Jung, who is a central character in one of my stories in Mysterious Realities. Jung gave a lecture, and the young Marie-Louise von Franz, who became famous as a Jungian analyst, was at the lecture. And Jung described the case of a woman who he said has been living on the moon for the last 20 years. He described a history of abuse. and problems in this life. And he said the woman's been living on the moon for 20 years. And the young Marie-Louise was shocked by this statement from the famous Herr Professor Dr. Jung, and she runs up to him after the lecture and says, "You can't mean that woman has been living on the moon for 20 years. And Jung says, "I mean exactly what I said." What Jung was saying is that somebody, because of shame and hurt and trauma and disappointment in his life, exiled herself to another reality. He was talking about the astral realm of the moon or the dream space of the moon, not the literal moon, but he wanted to be dramatic, and he was dramatic. He was saying that what happened in the case of that woman, who'd been one of his patients, was that because of a terrible family history of abuse and incest and so on, a vital part of her soul, her consciousness, went away and it lived somewhere else. So she wasn't really in her body. People just noted a demure, passive, submissive person in the body and didn't realize that the larger part of her was somewhere else. Jung recognized it because he was a shaman of consciousness, so he understood it. Now, if you were to exile yourself, if you were to put yourself into a dream world and say, that's where I'm going to live, your body would still be in this world. If you could succeed in doing it, you would probably be, observed to some extent to be lacking your vital energy, lacking your normal smarts if you have them, but maybe people wouldn't think that's altogether unusual. They just think you'd slowed down or getting older or something like that. I mean, people, we're entering shamanic realms here, and of course I'm also a shamanic practitioner, which means I deal with things like soul loss and soul recovery and what happens to consciousness in the course of a life. I know people who have, in a sense, exiled themselves for one reason or another to some kind of dream world and gone missing from the body to a considerable extent. I mean, this is a dangerous thing because it means that what is operating the body and the brain is less than the complete person, and other things can come in that you don't want around. So I'm not knocking or rejecting the idea that you would go and live in a dream world and not in this world, but I'm pointing out that you would be leaving a body and brain behind, which would be on a low functional scale, and this would be problematic for many reasons. There are people who find such beauty and such interesting drama in the other worlds accessible in dreams that they would really in many ways like to spend their time there rather than ordinary reality where we are limited in certain ways. The trick for me is to live in both worlds at the same time, not to give up on ordinary reality because you found beauty and romance in another world, but to enjoy that while exploring your ability to bring things from that other world of possibility into the body, into the world you inhabit in ordinary reality.
Well, I think that's why we've had so many, inventions. I think that's why actually technology and everything has been going so fast. I think a lot of people dreaming, going even back to the Wright brothers, dreaming to, fly. It all started with a dream. And I'm willing to bet you it wasn't a dream when they just was sitting there looking at the sky. I bet they had dreams at night, of, flying contraptions and how to make them and all that stuff. And I just really feel that way. And Terry's kind of was, because I got another message from him. He's saying that he felt that if he did not return to the current level, that he would have died and existed only in his dream. So I don't know. I can't answer his question here.
Well, I can't rule on that either, but I mean, it is possible to take your consciousness out of your body, and I suppose if you were able to do that in a complete way, the body might eventually expire. I mean, that's not impossible. But as I say, my attitude towards these things is we want to become conscious of living in more than one world at the same time and bring gifts from one world into another. That's the heart of real magic. Real magic for me is a gift of bringing good things from one world into another world. So dreaming, as I practice and teach it, is the art of traveling in other realities and then bringing back into the body, into the good old physical world, energy, healing, and guidance that can get you through and make you do better. It's not about going off into dreamland and leaving the body and the obligations and the possible beauty of this world behind. It's about doing more in both worlds, becoming a conscious citizen of the multidimensional universe.
Wow. How far have you been, Robert, been able to extend your dreams yourself?
Would you like to expand the question? I'm not quite clear.
Oh, okay. When we were talking about going back and finishing a dream and stuff, what's the longest you've ever had a dream cycle continuing on like a movie, before it played out?
Well, that's an easier question to answer, but I'm conscious of dreaming for decades of parallel lives where I'm doing something a bit different. For example, I'm a writer. I continue to be a writer. I've published 25 books in this reality so far, with more coming. I'm aware that in parallel lives where I'm a writer, I've been writing different books and publishing them over the years and doing the research and activity associated with those books. I'm aware of two of those parallel Roberts writing in different vein. One of them's been writing some books that are for children, young adults, as well as adults. I've been talking to him recently and looking in on his life. And he and I parted company nearly a decade ago when I gave up on a book that might have been for children and young adults as well as adults. And he's been living a separate life since then. And I've been present for him, observing him, recently talking to him. So that's a case of being aware of a parallel life story, a parallel Robert whose story has gone on for a long time. When I go into other realms, I think about characters from other periods in time to whom I feel connected. I think of the adventures of an Anglo-Irishman who held great power in North America in the colonial period in the 1700s. I dreamed of his life, of stepping in and out of his life, of observing him, sometimes being in his body over many, many years. So, those are examples of my sense of ongoing situation. Long-running serials, if you like, or I would regard them as continuous lives that I've been checking in and out of for years, or in some cases, decades. In terms of a particular dream that might have a fascination or a attraction for me, going back into it and going on with it, yes, I have those. I'm thinking right now of my dreams in which I'm in a situation in Mongolia, where I've never been in physical reality, though I've been invited. I haven't gone there. It's the area from which we get the word shaman, an early primal version of shamanic practice. I think of a dream of Mongolia and a Mongol shaman warrior that became very important in my imagination and called me again and again. I think of a night when I was actually teaching at the Esalen Institute, overhanging the Pacific Ocean, and I hear the Pacific breakers outside my windows. And I'm in Mongolia in my dream, and I wake and the Pacific breakers are crashing against the shore, and the dream holds me. I go back into it again and again and again during the night. I cannot leave it, and I guess I don't want to leave it. It has traction for me. So I'm in California, and I'm in Mongolia, back and forth all night long, and I wake with a thrumming excitement about the story, and I began to write a story from it. It's not in my book, Mysterious Realities, but it might be in another book. So, the point is that we are not living one life in one world. We're living many lives in many worlds. That's my impression anyway. That's my experience. And become more conscious of what's going on in more of these lives and more of these realities is perhaps to live more creatively and more juicily in the physical body in the present time.
Yeah, I also think it's how can I say it? Without dreaming, I don't think a person could even survive half the age that they do. I think the brain needs that. It's a state of relaxation. It's a state where you can let your troubles go, and then you can kind of go into, a parallel universe or into a dream and create happiness, at least for a lot of people. I'm sure there's people who have those bad dreams, and I don't know. I've never really had a bad dream other than that vehicle crash. But
well, I think people would envy you if you can make that statement without hesitation, Gary. And I love your enthusiasm for all of this. I must throw out a couple of other things about dreaming, though. Yes, it's royal entertainment. Yes, they're great movies, and we can script the movies and be star and director and scriptwriter. But dreaming also has very important functions of the most practical natures. For example, dreaming might be the voice of conscience. Dreaming might be the agent of course correction. In dreams, one of the functions of dreams is they hold up a magic mirror to our actions and attitudes and show ourselves how we look from a witness perspective. And if you don't have, can be shocked